Hey, everybody. Hi. Hey,
Hi.
Krystal.
Hey, Mara.
Hello and welcome, everyone. You are listening to the Whistle Down, Wind Down with Krystal and Mara, a podcast dedicated to our favorite verse in the multiverse. Bridgerton from Shondaland Media streaming on Netflix.
Yes, yes, yes. And for me, I'm Krystal. I'm going to be a librarian who loves to get lost in a story, and a Shonda Stan who constantly asks, does this make me a bad feminist? I love a good romance novel, but thought Regency era fictions were my own guilty pleasure, and I now know better.
Ooh, love that. And I'm Mara, a lover of British period dramas and a huge Jane Austen fan. If I could put myself anywhere, it would be in the writer's room at Shondaland to watch the magic happen. I didn't know there were others like me that enjoyed reading historical romance novels. I feel like I have found my people.
Okay. So we are both excited to be here, obviously. We were just talking about how this is self-care for us and we enjoy just being in this space. So we invite you in with us. And today we're talking about Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton Story, episode 2, Honeymoon Bliss.
So let's go ahead and grab a glass of wine, tea, or another favorite beverage, and let's get into it. Cheers, Krystal.
Cheers. Okay, so best part. This is the best part for me. This is when we get to the yummy nitty gritty. Keep it quick, keep it quick, keep it sweet. This is our quick bread. Take it away, Mara.
Thank you, Krystal. And are you ready for this quick bread? All right, here we go. Shout out to Afro Bed Hair. I woke up like this. Now is the word pronounced privacy or privacy? I'll have to ask you about that later, Krystal. Newest flash forward, we see Letty Danbury at an old hangout spot and Mama Bridgerton babysitting them grandbabies. Ooh, love it. The Bridgerton Angels are back. Lady Danbury, Mama Bridgerton, and Queen Charlotte. I love it when I see all three of them in a room. It is electrifying. Lady Danbury has her own set of artistic skills. Girlfriend knows how to draw pictures. Consummation is on everyone's mind during this episode. And we married now, girl. We married. The king makes an impassioned speech. He is the king. He is the crown. He is him. And then we see our king have his first mental health breakdown. Ooh, it was a lot going on in this episode, Krystal. OMG.
That is accurate. That is so accurate. Oh, okay. Oh, I love these. Girl, there was so much happening. Can we just talk a bit about how this is only 6 episodes? And like, once this is done, we're just like, oh, this is all we're getting, Shonda? Like, this is what you're doing to us? Because there's so much packed into every episode. It feels like, one, we just don't have enough time to go through all of it, but just like, there's so much. All right, so I know we're gonna start passing the scones in a moment because we like to talk about little bits and pieces that we really enjoyed. But I think I will start with my first scone, and it is the entire, like, still every episode. I'm just like, they made these, everything on here. They've made more. They've made it. And I think about like just the design house and the fact that they're like pulling fabrics. It's like, I don't know who was on the team this year, but like, holy cow, like it's amazing. So every time I think I'm just always surprised again and again and again, just like how good everything looks, and just the attention to detail. It's gorgeous. It really is phenomenal.
I absolutely agree with you. And I'm going to piggyback off of that because I want to give big like shout out to, first of all, when Queen Charlotte goes to dinner. So this is like in the very beginning of the episode. And she kind of goes through this cycle of like waking up, getting ready, going to breakfast, going outside, sitting outside, this like whole cycle. And then she goes back to go get ready for dinner. Like she gets on like a full like dress, like change of everything. But I don't know if you noticed that the hair goes higher for evening attire. And
Say that one more time.
The hair goes higher for evening attire. Okay.
I love this. Hold on. I'm writing it. Go ahead. Let me write it down.
But I just wanted to give kudos because first and foremost, I love that they are continuing to utilize and I put air quotes, the natural hair of the queen to make elaborate hairstyles. And so, within the Bridgerton universe, shout out to the maids that know how to put a good curl in using that good hot iron, trying to get those ringlets done towards the back and not burn up the kitchen. Like, shout out to them. Like the Bridgerton universe has come a long way with the hair. I am very happy. Very happy.
That's actually, if we think about where we were, season 1, episode 1, it may have been episode 2, but we were complaining about some of the wigs. We were just like, well, why did they do that to Lady Danbury? I remember specifically, Lady Danbury's wig was stressing us out, and they fixed my girl up better this time around. Okay.
Fire.
All right. So I think, all right, my other 2, I'm going to give the last 2 for these at the same time, because my favorite character, it has never been, I think, in the past, but my favorite character has to go to Charlotte. Like the way she steps into, like, just the way that she deals with everything, right? Because I think I came in thinking that she was always so self-assured, and like you get to see that she's not, right? She's still a young girl trying to figure out her way and just figure out who she is. And she's looking for like validation in a lot of the things. Like she's just trying to understand. And I love how the way that she asks questions. Like it's never just like she hears it and she accepts it. She's always asking, because she's like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Like explain it to me. Like she just wants to know. She just wants to understand. So I really appreciate that about her. But then there's also like the point when she's kind of like fed up. Like I loved how when she was fed up, she's like, get the carriage. Like I'm done with this. We're going. And I love like the taking charge. Yeah. So I think that's the thing for me, is like the character of her. I really appreciate it. And I understand where the energy came from for having this series take place, and why people were so interested in who she was as a person and as a character. And then with that, she gave me my favorite line this episode. And it's when she said, fight with me. Ooh, fight for me. And I was like, you know how you're watching the show, and I was like, yes, screaming and hollering, because I get it. Like, that's really like, I'm sitting here waiting on you. Where are you? And so I really appreciated like the way that she addresses it. She can't sit and wait forever. And so eventually she just gets up and goes. And I really just appreciated like kind of like the directness of it. And just the levels to it. Fight with me, right? I'm not doing this by myself. And also fight for me. Like you need to care. So yeah. So boom, boom, boom. Like, yeah. Queen Charlotte, top tier. Love it. India, amazing. And Golda's my girl. I say that like we're best friends, but she don't know me. Eventually. All right, pass it back.
Absolutely agree. And I think that you point out a great example of her asking the questions, learning more about her role. She's stepping into a role at 17 years old. She doesn't know she doesn't know how to play this game. She knows how to play her country's game. She knows how that game is played, but now she is stepping into a whole new ball game with different teams, and she's trying to figure out, well, what's the rules, how to do this. And one of the things I appreciated seeing was that Brimsley is coming in as her backup. He's coming in, and one of the quotes he says, "I will always tell you how best to do things you are not allowed to do." Because at one point, Queen Charlotte just feels like, excuse me, who are you to tell me who I am? You keep telling me I'm the queen. I keep being told, including from the king, oh, you are the queen. You can do whatever you want. But in hindsight, no, she does have parameters that she has to work within. And Brimsley is stepping in and saying, you know what? I see what you're trying to do. Let me just help guide you. And so I kind of dubbed him a Jedi master because,
Okay.
because the dialogue between the two of them, you can tell that she's starting to learn. She does through these conversations with him and through conversations with Lady Danbury. So I absolutely agree with you that this is really her origin story. This is how we see our queen become the queen in episode 1 of Bridgerton. Had to learn somewhere, somehow, and this is the beginning. So yes, I 110% agree. But shout out to Brimsley. He's coming in as her, strong number 2 point person.
Love him.
Absolutely. So another point that I really appreciate, and I kind of touched on it during Quick Bread, was that we have our 3 Bridgerton angels back at it again. We are having tea together with Queen Charlotte, Lady Danbury, and Mama Bridgerton was invited. And Queen Charlotte asked Mama Bridgerton, so you had, and I had to make sure I write this down, you've had 2 of your children have had marriages within the last 2 years. You have 8 grandchildren. I mean, you've had 8 children, and out of those 8, you've got 2 grandbabies. And how's this work? How do you help your children to go out and get married and find somebody? Because Queen Charlotte is really reaching out to her support network, because she ain't got IG or Facebook or a TikTok to shout out.
Here are your stats. I need you to talk to me about how you did this.
What's the equation on this bad boy? Did you cover the 2 and then minus the 3?
Thank you. Yes, very.
But one of the things that I enjoyed was when you look at those 3. And of course, I'm looking at this because I've seen the whole series, but all 3 of them are coming from different perspectives, different timelines, different love stories, and how they have been able to move forward without the loves of their life next to them. So, just kind of interesting about their backstory.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I did not think about that, Mara. I did not think about that.
Did I bring it down?
No, you didn't, but it's the concept. So their loves are all very different, but the fact that none of them has the loves of their lives is not who they spent their time with for various reasons. Granted, both Lady Danbury and Mama Bridgerton's husbands are passed, right, at this point, and the Queen's husband is still alive, but he's not fully present. But it's such an interesting thing for you can be in relationship with people and then not have them by you, even if somebody is physically present. So that's such a great girl, you did good in English class. I know you did. Your essays was on fire, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Just in case this ever gets back to any high school or college professors.
Somebody else gonna report back. All right, we're gonna head over to Up to Snuff, which is where we ask some questions. These are the hard-hitting questions because we're journalists. We're really not, but
it's the glass.
It is, right? This is what gives us apparent authority. But all right, we got a couple things to talk about. I know I have a few. I know you have a few. Do you want to jump in first? I don't even know which way to go yet, but yeah, do you want to go first? And I'll see where I can piggyback.
Okay. So for Pass the Scones, Reynolds and Brimsley's origin love story.
Sorry, jump back. We're in Up to Snuff.
Oh, wait. Are you talking with me or?
No, for you. You just said Pass the Scones, but we just wrapped Pass the Scones. We're jumping into Up to Snuff.
Right. I was just gonna. Is it okay? So what I was going to talk about was about Reynolds and Brimsley with their love story is a love story within a love story.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm. No, the reason why I say that is because I wrote down like Brimsley in all caps with like exclamation points because it was very unexpected. I was just like, wait a minute, right? Because again, Brimsley's staff, right? Anyway, I'm jumping ahead, but continue. Yes, please.
okay. Are you okay?
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Okay, so I just wanted to, girl, I'm trying to find my notes now all of a sudden, but basically watching Brimsley and Reynolds, their relationship and their conversations are as important to the crown, to the country, and to the whole entire structure of whether or not this great experiment is going to work. Right? They are
Mm-hmm.
they are the two catalysts that know the rules, are trying to support their go-to, the king and the queen. They're trying to support their persons and trying to help them navigate through this this inherited title that these two individuals have now. And
Mm-hmm.
this great experiment, this love story between King George and Queen Charlotte, I don't know. I don't think it happens without them.
I agree. 100%. 100%. Because I don't think, the two of them were not going to figure this out by themselves. They needed a team of people. And we see it in the episode. They needed a team of people to get them right. A whole mess.
A team of people. And then on top of that, the Dowager Princess calls both of them in to her home to ask about whether or not the king and queen been getting it in. And I'm just
like, that awkward?
Super. But you know what though? I love it on how both of them were playing dumb. It was looking like a tennis match, trying to make the Dowager Princess feel some type of way. They're just like, well, what do you mean? Well, how? Well, what? Like they just kept trying to pivot off the topic that they all knew that they were, asking, them about. And I was just like, look, y'all two are playing some very good tennis, okay? Serena Williams would be proud of both of them.
No, it's so true. I think there's a couple of parts, right? Because there's two parts to this, right? There's their love story, but then there's also their hand in kind of moving everything forward. Because these are people that in Reynolds' role, he's trusted because he's been around for some time. And with Queen Charlotte, she's learning to trust Brimsley as someone that yes, he works for her, but he's still an extra ear. He's somebody that she's like has around that she can essentially, or she'll learn to trust. So it's just the notion of them having to kind of like, she needs a gesture, like you got to do something. You can't be pretending like you don't notice. And realistically, they're just like, I don't know what to do. And I think that's pretty fair. And like in a lot of relationships, I don't know if I can say that for people that are together now that it was just them two that figured it all out. There was always somebody that was just like, yeah, girl, like relax, go for it. It's okay. Like trust your gut, that kind of thing. Or someone else that like in one scenario, I'll say for one of my relationships that I can speak to specifically, where another person was just like, well, what's his story? She asked the girl, like, what's that guy's story? Because they were like interacting, but kind of like, they were kind of like circling in, they would kind of come across each other, but they weren't necessarily in each other's circle. And then one person just said, what's his story? And they're married now because they finally had a conversation. They weren't thinking of it in that way. So sometimes you do need somebody to kind of come in. And this feels very much like the astrology of like the planets kind of like they're just going by themselves. And at some point they align. And sometimes the alignment may be because something hit something on this side, or maybe it's just the timing was right. But it does feel like it was very much their need to be involved and assist this love story. And it's kind of nice to find out that like in their assistance, right, that they also had their own love story going. And let me just speak to this. I was first of all, I was number one surprised because I don't know, it's crazy because it reminds me of just like not thinking about people and like their stories. These people have always been present, but we've never talked about who Brimsley is or Brimsley's story. We know that Brimsley talks too much in the future, right? But we don't really know anything about Brimsley. And so for us to like open up the story and be able to say like, oh, Brimsley, and I'm like, Brimsley, this your boo? Like, it was very like, wait a minute. And I think for me, it was also, I think this was probably the first time that I can recall seeing a gay couple on screen in such an affectionate, intimate way. I don't think I've seen that before.
Very true. Very true.
And so that was, so for me, it was kind of like, one, just kind of like, Brimsley, like, I'm just like, Brimsley. Kind of like, Brimsley, why didn't you tell me? But I'm like, girl, he don't know you. But it's kind of like, why didn't you say so? And then the other part of it is just like, wow, it's kind of like, this is never, why is this so uncommon? Like, I'm so surprised, but it's because this has not been shown, I guess from what I've seen. So it was surprising to see the intimacy. And I think it was also surprising to just realize that this is not a normal thing that I've seen before. So it was kind of just like, huh. Like, I think a lot of me was kind of like, huh. I can honestly say that. Like, it was very surprising for me to just like acknowledge that in the moment. And then also just be super excited for like Brimsley. I think I said his name in multiple.
Brimsley. And look, and let me tell you something. Brimsley controls that relationship. Reynolds just Reynolds definitely trying to be all stoic, but the minute they get behind closed doors, look, Brimsley the man.
Well, I see what you're. Well, let's say he allows his masculine energy to enter the room. But okay, here's the question that this is a foolish question possibly, but who's on the lookout for Brimsley and Reynolds? Because there's no way that they were able, like, there has to be somebody else that's like, yo, like, knock, knock, wrap it up. Like, there's got to be somebody else signaling, because there's no way y'all could get yourself back together and back in front of everybody on time, like pristine. There's got to be somebody else. That's who I want to know. Who is like, who's the other friend in the friend group that's like, I got it.
They got a bestie looking out for them. Oh,
there has to be somebody. Think about it though.
It'll be me. I definitely would be their bestie looking out for them.
Question.
The cute couple, go ahead. Hurry up, because y'all got 15 minutes because I don't want to get fired from this job. Like, I'd be that type of friend. I'd be like, I got you, but don't get me fired. I got a family to feed. Get out of here. Good question.
See? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Brimsley. Yeah, shout out to Brimsley. I was like, Brimsley, you got time? Because the thought, right? He's always there. He says that. I'm always here. I will always be 5 paces behind you. So if that's the case, how you got time for a whole relationship? And I'm like, bro, y'all know, when do y'all sleep? They're up at the crack of dawn. Like, what? He's dressed in the morning before she wakes up.
Both of them are.
And says good night to her before she goes to sleep. When does he sleep? That's the real question.
And you know that they didn't have alarm.
You can't find stuff.
They didn't know. So I'm like,
anyway, that's, yeah, girl. Okay, here's my next question. I mean, I don't know if it's really a question. I just want to point it out. I just really appreciated that Lady Danbury was just like, Lady Danbury. I said, okay, Agatha versus Augusta. I was like, okay, let me get my little board together. Slink, slink, slink. Because that exchange I love the exchange between Augusta and Agatha, because Agatha holds her own and she's continuously, and it's kind of like she must have innately know, like she's no dummy, right? She was what I guess bequeathed, I don't know, betrothed to this man very young, right? And so she was brought up to do the work in that sense, right? I'm labeling it that way. But then it's like she's having to be strategic and figure it out and like play the game in order to like take care of herself and her family. And I think there's very much a correlation between that and watching Black women run in, and I'll speak to America only, but like just how Black women have to show up in the world and how you're constantly having to like pay attention to all the moving pieces in order to make sure that you're okay. And so but I really appreciate seeing a contender go up against another good contender.
So in fact, I have that literally listed in my notes. Battle of Wits and Will, round 1. Dowager Princess versus Lady Danbury. Quick sidebar question before I continue. Who do you think won round 1? Lady Danbury or the Dowager Princess?
This is which was this the first conversation about the tea?
The first conversation about the tea, yes.
I feel like that one was more like the press conference. So like they were kind of going back and forth. And so that like from a press conference perspective, it was kind of like, okay, this is going to be a bat. Like you're kind of meeting your opponent. But I think she held her own. But then I think she had to go back and be like, okay, I gotta think about how I'm gonna come to this lady because she needs something. Because I think her brain was moving when she was just like, oh, you need me. There's a point when she was like, oh, you need me.
Yes.
And that changes the way you come at somebody because now it's just like, oh, hold on. Now we need to talk about what this exchange is going to look like. So I feel like the first exchange was not necessarily a battle. If we're going to call it a battle, I'm going to say Augusta won the battle because Agatha wasn't necessarily prepared, but I think she held her own. So it wasn't a KO.
I like that. So it was a decision. So basically we took it to the judges. The judges said, you know what? It's not KO, but we're going to give this round to Lady Danbury. And I agree with you.
Well, I would say Augusta still kind of won that one because she still kind of sent her out and given her something to do. So she started to do the work.
Yeah, because I was just about to say that because I was like, you're right, Lady Danbury. So in terms of they sized each other up that first interaction.
Yes.
Lady Danbury first of all, Lady Danbury went ahead and put herself out there. Because most women of her class, even though she got elevated title status, like the title was bestowed upon her. But this is the Dowager Princess. This is the mother of the king.
Correct.
And so Lady Danbury, and I don't know, I think you peeped it. Lady Danbury was like, Lady Agatha Danbury. But it was quiet though. It was very much like a whisper. And Princess Augusta was like, excuse me, you said something. And then that's when we start seeing the confidence build in. And Lady Danbury's like, no, my name is, because the Princess Augusta was up there calling her girl. You know, I didn't like the tone. I didn't like the undertone.
Don't talk to me like a child.
Ooh, not only a child, but damn near a servant. I don't want to go there, but yes, it was a little triggering for a hot second, and then I moved on. I said, nope, this is Bridgerton verse. I know what this is, but it got there for a second, and Lady Danbury did not back down, exactly speaking to what you were talking about. They sized each other up, and Lady Danbury came with receipts. She says, I don't need your money. Ooh. My family has money. In fact, my family has more money than the ton. So the only thing you've done is just given us the titles to match the wealth we already have. So thank you for that. Yes, but let's not get it twisted. I said, sis, ate her up quick. But the exchange, though, is when the Dowager Princess got what she wanted out of it, speaking to the other part you just said. Yes, Lady Danbury was able to step up, size up, came with receipts, and corrected on how she was going to be addressed moving forward in future conversations, in future tea time conversations with her. But the Dowager Princess got what she wanted, though. She got somebody in that palace with some ears.
Correct. Yep. Yes, I'm still gonna, indecision. We're gonna give that to the Dowager Princess. But I 100%. I actually love this battle of the wits. I love this because it's gonna continue, and we really enjoyed So yeah, that was definitely one of the moments that I was just like, ooh, because it's again like, and she's by herself, right? Like she's going, she's been summoned, I should say. She's not going, she's been summoned. And her husband's over here like, well, why is she asking you to go? And it's kind of like,
oh, girl,
you're not even helping me.
Don't get me started on giving me a headache, and I'm not even married to him. Just giving me a headache watching him. Because you know that he was trying to pull that manipulation thing on her. Like, well, why are you being summoned? Well, if it wasn't for me and my family, you wouldn't even be here.
Correct. Correct. Listen, the question still remains. We are also asking this question: why do they have to do Lady Danbury like that? We still want to know. I still want to know why we set up this Lord Danbury to look the way Lord Danbury did. Like, old men don't always have to look like that. Like, I still want to know why. What happened in the decision-making process? It didn't have to be that way. It really didn't. So I really want to know. That is the question of all questions. I feel like this question of the season. I still want to know how we got here.
Keep hitting the back of the baseball. I don't understand. I'm like, traumatizing. But wait, though, why the teeth? Thank you, producer. It's the teeth for us too. But not only that, Lady Danbury says she does her best thinking during sex. I said, go ahead. Multitasking. Oh God.
And so she's like, I could find something else to do in this time frame. Because she's not required to do. Okay, we're gonna come back to her because
though, you know she can draw.
This is what I wanted to ask about. So in regards to this, okay. Oh Lord. Okay, so now she's now going to visit the Queen. Great, right? And the interesting thing is that she's like, first of all, Queen, you can't lie. So stop it. But then she's talking to her, she's like, oh, like you need help. So then she now explains to her what it looks like, what the process is and all those things. And what I found interesting about it was I think the truth is that you're always going to teach someone the way that you've learned it. And so it was interesting to hear the Queen make the comment that I drew you pictures to her daughters when she says she doesn't understand why her daughter is not getting pregnant. And I think that might have been in the first episode. But it's interesting now to see that she got those pictures from having been taught in that way, right? And then having the idea in her mind that, I don't want my head hitting the headboard part. Like, I don't want that to happen. Right. And it's so interesting to realize that in many ways, a lot of the things that we learn, particularly when it comes to intimacy, particularly when it comes to anything dealing with femininity and the female body, all of that is going to be things that are taught to you in a way that someone else has like experienced it. And it's not necessarily taught in a way that's like, hey, here's the education around this. And it just made me think about like even just talking about puberty and growth and going through like that process. I had an aunt who was in the field of education for young girls, for like health and all of those things. And so she had resources. She had tons of information. And so the way that my sisters, way that my cousins, like way that we were taught was very different when I had a conversation with somebody else. And they were just like, girl, My mom never said a word to me about this. So that when it happened for me, I was like, what is this? Like, she's like, what's going on? And then her mom was like, oh, like, and it was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's what happens. And it was kind of like, wait a minute. And I'm like, wait, you didn't know? Like, I remember having a conversation with someone like, you didn't know? They were like, no. And I'm like, nobody talked to you. Nobody had the conversation. I remember I had a whole book. I think her name was Patty period Patty, whatever. It was a whole book with pictures and diagrams, and it talked about what happens and everything. And so it's very interesting to be like, well, I understood, I was prepared. And then someone else is just like, yeah, no, that it was a shocker to me. And I was like, something's wrong. I think I'm dying. And they're like, oh no, you're fine. You're just a woman. think about the distress of that, right? And then so it was very interesting for me to kind of like make that correlation of just like, even in life, like if you are taught anything, or if you are told anything about growing up, about sex, about relationships, it's going to be based on someone's experience. And there's never a conversation around. I think it's getting somewhat better now, even though the United States is doing its own thing. But there's a lot.
But social media, the internet has just moved themselves into okay, so these are a list of my resources. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so but I think that now there's more conversation happening, and you can at least have the conversation with someone, because in this scenario, right, she didn't. So let's be fair, Queen Charlotte had no mother because her mother has passed. Her brother and her dad were never going to tell her, even though her dad is also passed. So she can't go to the Dowager Princess, because the Dowager Princess is just like, go, procreate a child. And so she had to go to the person that was the closest to her. And thankfully it was a friend, and who was able to kind of help her and sister. But again, she's coming in with a tainted view because of her experience. So I just thought that was just for me, like the biggest like aha moment of just like, wow, this really is a tough thing to discuss, particularly in this time. But even now, it's kind of just something to be aware of like, sometimes you have to be just kind of like acknowledge, like, some people may not have the same experience that you've had. So you have to talk to people and acknowledge, like, hey, here's my experience, but here's the facts of things, not just the feelings of things. Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that. It's not necessarily the facts of things, but the feeling. Go ahead, write that thing. We got right. Look at us spitting bars tonight. Look.
Put these onto the shirts. All right. I know we have a few more minutes left in this. Did you have another? Oh wait, actually, we talked about this, you may have brought this up before, but I just want to make sure that you got like the moment of like where you felt seen in this episode.
Yes. So, and in fact, we were talking about this right before we came on. So let me know if this was the scene where you felt seen.
Mm-hmm.
I try and practice that because the braces, I know I'm fumbling it. It was, and mind you, this is not equated to sex. This is not equated to, getting pregnant, but it was just a moment where I was looking at the screen, and within this historical, genre, and just having me thinking back to times when I was reading these historical books, the main characters were white. They just, Julia Quinn did an interview with CBS this morning, and she confirmed it, and a lot of other authors would. However, though, as a book reader, what do we do when we're reading a book? We put ourselves within the book, right? So our imagination will take over. But whether or not it gets translated, let's say this favorite book of ours gets translated to a movie, television series, we expect not to see ourselves, and that's okay, because we have our imagination. However, though, the Bridgerton universe has actually flipped that concept on its head, and so that there is more representation. So given that context, the moment that I felt seen within the series is actually the wedding night, the official wedding night. So I guess the part 2 wedding night, when Queen Charlotte and King George have kind of made up, and Queen Charlotte is getting prepared to go to his room, which we need to talk about that, because why she got to be traveling the halls with her nightgown on, but we'll talk about that in a second. But it's the moment where she is in her room, and she has her hair out, and it's beautiful, it's luscious, it's curly. She has a long robe and long silk nightgown on, and she's just standing there. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful, because that's how I've looked sometimes when my hair is like brushed out and I'm just like, the curls are just kind of just, you know what, they're just out there. But I thought that just looks so beautiful. It's the aesthetic of a brown Black woman within this historical, historical romance genre, looking like me in that moment in a book that I've always read about. And it was just nice to see, Krystal. It really was. And it sucks that there are not many moments like that, but I did feel seen in that. And I did feel like, yeah, I'm Queen Charlotte. If Queen Charlotte looks like that, I look like her too then. And I feel that this generation,
cry. Go ahead.
This generation is so fortunate. This generation within the last 10, 15, 20 years, they are seeing more than what our generation saw.
True.
They are seeing so many more possibilities, so many more options, that they will never know what it is like to say, well, I just read the books and they were just always white. It's not like that. Like, there's a curve happening. And so having this moment up there on the screen, I love it that I saw it, and that I love it that a 16, 17-year-old girl that looks like me also saw it too.
Hold on, should they be watching this?
16, 17 girl, look.
Okay, all right. Let me stop lying. Like
unless wait, pause. I don't want us getting in trouble. Unless for religious reasons, y'all need to go talk to y'all parents. You need to talk to, the person that you trust, hopefully older, like talk to them about it. But I mean, 16, 17, girl, TikTok is like the Wild Wild West. We'll get into that for another day's conversation. So look, there's so much access to everything to
not the Wild West.
Be underneath a rock, and this stuff is kind of hard nowadays.
That's fair. You're so right.
So, I just want to make sure, like, parental advisory.
She's like, I'm not saying let all the kids watch it. I'm just saying they can get access.
Look, I don't want, girl.
She said, watch your kids. All right, I know we have to wrap this. So I just want to say the one thing where I felt seen is when the same quote that I talked about before, when she said, fight with me, fight for me. The feeling seen in that moment is just the feeling of like, the line right before that, it says, I want to fight with you. And I felt that because that's how I feel sometimes. And one of the songs that I remember hearing being like, I said, is this what it is? There's a song by the Pussycat Dolls. This is like, this may be dating some of us. I'm not gonna say just me. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. There was a song called React by the Pussycat Dolls. And it was specifically saying like, I need you to like, I can't like keep, like you keep pretending like nothing's happening. Like the fact that she walked into the room and he was just like, oh, hey, Charlotte, boy, if you don't sit down. Right. So for me, it was just the acknowledgement of like, she's not going to pretend like this is cool. She's like, stop it. Like, he's like, I don't want to fight with you, but I want to fight with you. I'm not playing like I can't pretend. So I think for me, that just felt like real scene. Like just sometimes like you have to like release that emotion and just say like, stop. Fight with me. Because I don't nobody wants to fight by themselves. How is it I'm the only one upset in this moment? And I know that's not just me, like stop. So anyway, we can go into it another time, but I just really appreciated that scene as soon as I saw it. Because I think in my head, I was just like, what the man, like, if you don't say something. And so she was like, I want to fight with you. And I was like, yes. She gets me. All right. Last piece, just wanted to share that as like my moment of feeling seen. I know we got to like wrap this up so we can get on out of here. And go back and watch episode 3 because that's what's coming next. And so that's it. that's it for us. We did as much as we could, y'all. We are trying to keep these things like connected and tight for you. So that's it for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, subscribe, and do that on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, please leave a review. Yeah, and if you want to keep the conversation going, we have a whole group on Facebook called the Whistle Down Wind Down Lounge. Just come find us over there, and we'll see you soon for episode 3. We're talking about even days, y'all. We're going to talk about taking that walk in the robe. So come back and see us, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.